Hello everybody, this is Chris Bird or MonkeyDude1313, and this is a master set of Heart Gold Soul Silver Unleashed. This set has Primes, Legends, and Alph Lithograph, lithographs, tongue twisters. This word specifically, lithograph, great tongue twister. If you thought Unique New York was hard, try saying that name 5 times fast. But I digress. This set is from 2010, part of the Forgotten Era, and I am here for it. The cards are fantastic. Let's make sure we jump into it. Real quick though, last week's Master Set Monday was Paldean Fates, where we pulled the Bubble Mew to finish the entire set. Absolutely love that set, and if you like it too, you might want to go check that out. Wishless Wednesday for last week was June Challenge, where we're missing exactly 4 cards, but you don't know yet which ones we're missing. You'll have to go check out that video as well. But I will move these Alph Lithographs to the side, and we can jump into this set. As I mentioned, this set is from 2010. It is part of a 4-set series called Heart Gold Soul Silver, and amazing artwork here. And as you can tell from this Jirachi, the border color is not quite pure yellow like it used to be. And then after these sets, it turned back into pure yellow, and then recently it turned to silver. But we got a glorious 4 or 5 set era where we got non-fully yellow borders. Very, very neat. Why do I call this the Forgotten Era? Well, if you started with base, then around the time Diamond and Pearl base came out, you were starting to fall out of the Pokemon hobby simply due to age, the trends, and what your friends were up to. And so in the gap between EX Power Keepers and Diamond and Pearl base is when I fell out of Pokemon collecting TCG. And unfortunately, that was the gap where I sold my Pokemon cards to buy a GameCube. Sad day. I had so many nice cards. But that is okay. So this set, I call this era between Diamond and Pearl base and Call of Legends, I call the Forgotten Era because a lot of people who have been around since the beginning do not remember a lot of these cards. However, if you are big into the TCG, so many of these cards are going to elicit very strong feelings. And this set specifically didn't have all that many crazy ones. You know, there wasn't the Gengar Prime or the Clay at all, but you know, you still got a lot of incredible cards to play with in the TCG here. So I'm pulling out each of the Holos. We can take a nice look at the nice Sparkles, the nice Cosmos. And something else I'd like to point out is in these sets, they allowed the same artist to do the entire evolution line. And that makes it so that it's really nice to display all 3 of the Pokemon from the evolution line together in one row. And I will choose the Mankey and Primate from a little bit later in the set to show that off, but it goes for just about every evolution line here. Politoed looking absolutely beautiful here. I absolutely love the Cosmos Holo that is appearing on all these, and this is a great time to point out that on basically every card from this era, if it evolved using a stone, a held item, or some other method, they would include a little homage to that on the art here. So here in the corner we have the King's Rock, which you need to attach to your Poliwhirl and trade it so that it will evolve into Politoed. Very, very neat. Then there's a certain artist, like on this Miss Magius, where they will feature other Pokemon in the art just because that was their style, and that's fun to look at as well. Here's another card from that same artist, and here in the back is an Eevee. Very, very cool. But this art is fantastic, and I absolutely love looking back at these arts. This Sudowoodo might at first glance seem like a Yukimori card art because it looks like it's made of clay, but this is actually another artist that they did that made a lot of similar looking. I don't know how to pronounce that name, but that's okay. And so what I would call these is more 2D clay art, where it feels like they've been made and then kind of pressed into the background of the card. Very, very cool. All right, so let's flip to the next page. Keep looking at these cards. There's the Primeape that I want to point out, and in the exact same clay art style. But the second to the last of the normal Holos from this set is this Torterra. Neat. Very, very cool. Still having that dual colored border, but otherwise not that crazy. There is some Cosmos Holo there up next to the in a little golden decal there, which is nice. All right, and the last Holo is this Xatu. I absolutely love these art styles. Sui does amazing art and has been doing amazing art for a very, very long time, and I'm strongly considering them for a featured Friday. How do you guys feel about Swee's art? You'll have to let me know. So we also did art like this lantern, for example, which is nice. All right, this Blastoise. You'll see this Blastoise quite a bit because there are multiple other printings of it. You won't see that in this video, but you'll see it in general quite a bit because there are multiple other printings, notably ones that are hollow. So people generally like that one more. But very, very cool Blastoise. And all of the Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise line got the same artist, as we expect from this set. All right, so we're not going to pull out every single one of these guys. I will pull out this Primeape, the little smushed clay that I was telling you about, and I'll set that off to the side here. And otherwise, pull out this Tyranitar, where it looks like his neck is not doing all that well. You know, maybe he's been hunching over a little bit too much and he's got some upper back pain. But you know what? Tyranitar's busy eating mountains. I don't know if he really cares that much. Alrighty, so let's keep on keeping on to the next page of the set. And we see some more beautiful cards. We got Plusle and Minun combo. However, a grand majority of sets, even though M and P are close to each other in the alphabet, they don't ever get Minun and Plusle right next to each other until we start doing things by type. And as soon as these sets started being organized by type instead of by rarity, and then alphabet, like these ones were, you then start to get Plusle and Minun closer together. Not always next to each other, but often. Because, you know, if you get something between MI and PL, it will stick itself right in the middle like this Numel ended up doing. But it has to be an electric type. Alright, so this Metang and this Beldum, you can tell, very, very similar artworks. If we go back to the first page, very similar to the Metang. So there's an evolution line that we can take a look at. This Wartortle, same art style as the Blastoise I just pulled out. Very neat. Alright, and on this next page, we're getting into the commons now. But I will pull out the Mankey. Smushed clay Mankey. And I will bring back out the Primeape. And that's the evolution line. And so, when you have the exact same artist doing the evolution line for the Pokemon, it feels like these cards really belong together. And they already felt like they belonged together because they were the evolution line, but now they feel like it for art reasons as well. And so, even if you don't want to collect the entire set from some of these Heart Gold, Soul Silver eras, you can buy or look out for specific evolution lines, and they look very, very nice together in your binder. Alright, let's put that Mankey back in there and keep on going. A sweet Chinchou, you know, like the lantern that I had shown from before, right down here. Very nice. Alright, I've been waffling quite a bit for 7.5 minutes. Let's skip through the rest of these commons. The Zubat looks incredible, by the way, and get to the grand reveal of the set. The Primes and Legend halves. So if you've seen my other videos, you know that a upside down Pokemon card is an energy. And usually that means we're missing something. In this case, we're not. Same with these two. These are not missing cards. I just thought it would be criminal to put this first half of a legend card down here and the second half up there. So I took a little bit of display ability and I moved them over like that so that we get to see all of the legend halves. Similarly, this Crobat, Kingdra, and Lantern all have the same artist, and then the Steelix, Tyranitar, Ursaring all have the same artist. So I could have moved this guy down here and shifted, then moved this guy down here and shifted, and we would have got full rows of the same artist. But I didn't end up doing that. That is okay. So this was the era of Primes. Diamond and Pearl had the level X's, and that included the Elite 4G level X's, for example. But Heart Gold, Soul Silver was where all the Primes were kept. And these Primes evolved directly from the previous Pokemon. So Crobat doesn't come out of a different Crobat. It's just evolved from Golbat. But these cards were the EX equivalent from the era, and they were very, very powerful at the time. Some of them very playable, other ones not so much. For example, some very beginner-friendly decks with this Lantern. But Crobat Prime here, looking very angsty, very dark, and that is one of the features that is very consistent across all of these Prime Pokemon, is that they focus heavily on the head. They do not spend a lot of time on the body. They don't spend a ton of time on environment. They just really, really focus on the head of the Pokemon itself, get as much of the personality in as they can, and then add some kind of devious, aggressive/aggression into the art to really make it work. And these Primes do a great job. And something else that's fun about the Primes is Pokemon like Lantern here are almost always happy, flippery boys, flipping around in the water, having a good time, chilling. They always got a big smile on their face, and they're very soft and fluffy. Not fluffy, but, they're soft and plush. But in this case, nope. Lantern is very angry. Lantern is ready to F that S up. Self-censoring, just in case there are kids watching. All right, so Steelix next. Very, very cool. And as I mentioned, these three were all made by the same artist, and you can kind of see the similarities there. But Steelix is great. Absolutely love this card. And one thing I forgot to mention about this lantern, this was the last Prime that Oyama's Trading needed to finish his Prime collection. Not this one exactly, of course, but this lantern. And so, congrats for finishing your Primes. All right, the star of the Primes from this set is Tyranitar. Everyone loves Tyranitar, it seems like, and this Pokemon card is no exception to that. Card that just looks absolutely, absolutely stunning. Love it, love it, love it. Very, very cool to have cards like these available to look at. All right, and finally, Ursaring Prime. Last but not least, this Pokemon generally does look aggressive in most of its card arts, but it never really looks all that specifically threatening. Generally, it's standing there menacingly. If you watched that SpongeBob episode, you kind of know what I'm going for. But in this case, Ursaring is absolutely ready to mess you up. But absolutely love this card as well. Okay, so Legend Halves. These were a new thing in the Heart Gold Soul Silver era, and each set contained either 2 or 3 Legend Halve pairs. So this one has 3 pairs, so 6 total Legend cards. And in order to play them from your hand into the game, you had to have both of them. You can't play Legend Half 1, wait for the other half and put that down with it. You have to have both ready to go. And that kind of makes sense. So let's use this Entei and Raikou as an example. If you were to play just the top half of Entei and Raikou, you are getting mostly just the Entei and a little bit of Raikou as purple fur there. Similarly, if you were to just play the second half, you'd get most but not all of Raikou, and you'd get Entei's claw there. But when you put them together, you play them on the field like this, and that is a stunning piece of artwork that I absolutely love from this era of cards. So if you line it up just right, and if you get a binder page that has very small gap between the different slots, you can recreate this art in your binder. Beautiful. Obviously, collectors love this. Players liked it, but most of the Legend Halves never actually saw a lot of meta viability. So this was mostly a collector thing, but still very cool. So, as you can see, this set focuses on the legendary dog pairs. And since there's only 3 legendary dogs, what they do is they give you all 3 different combos of the dogs. So the first one was Raikou Entei, and now we get Raikou Suicune. And the last one, as you can imagine, will be Suicune Entei. But yet another fantastic artwork here. This one in particular is the most sought after from the set, and no surprise to me, these cards look absolutely fantastic. And I can't stress this enough. From an artist/collector's perspective, these cards are masterpieces to me. And if I could find a suitable way to display these on the wall or on my desk without risking damaging them, I would absolutely do so significantly more often, because these are beautiful. Alrighty, now let's get into the last of the 3 pairs, Entei and Suicune, or I guess Suicune and Entei. I should probably put them in the correct order. This one is the derpiest to me. The faces feel kinda chubby, and I don't really view the legendary dogs as chubby creatures by any stretch. And what's interesting actually is they're called legendary dogs, but they're actually more based off of cats. And so if you look into it, you can find very, very close cat or large cat matches for each of these legendary dogs or legendary beasts, and not a lot of dogs that are similar. So, for example, Raikou is based on a saber-toothed cat, or I should say, is hugely speculated and ever so slightly confirmed by the actual original artists that it's based on a cat, a saber-toothed cat. So, neat. There's a little bit of fun legendary beast lore for you. Suicune and Entei legend. Nice. Alrighty. And probably one of the most confusing cards to a lot of people is the Alph Lithograph. Boy, that's a tongue twister. These were supposed to be kind of a Rosetta Stone for the unknown language. And so you can see most of the text, not all of it, is written in unknown characters. And then you have A, B, C, D, E, etc. up on this card. And if we zoom in really close, you can see that they have the English letter A next to the unknown A, and B next to the unknown B, etc. And so you can actually use this to decode itself. But, I mean, with ever so minimal looking, you can pretty much decipher this without it. It says, shuffle your deck. Playable, not. Because shuffle your deck is actually on the end of basically every other card where you go through your deck. So these were almost 100% binder filler. Not filler in a bad way, but they were for collectors, not for players really. And something that I need to point out, but I need to pull it out of the sleeve in order to do that for you, is that these cards are actually all textured and ever so slightly shiny. And so if I can get the light to reflect off it in the right way, there you go. Look at all that texture, really highlighting each of the unknowns there. And it just looks absolutely incredible. And the textural feel is very, very nice. So if you're the kind of person who wants to collect expensive cards and then touch them without their sleeves, which most people wouldn't recommend, these cards are great for doing that. So just in case, a word trainer up there. And actually in the bottom corner, it's kind of hard to see, you can see two. TWO in unknown letters there next to the rarity. So why, for the only Alph Lithograph in this set, would they say 2? Well, every single Heart Gold Soul Silver era set got an Alph Lithograph, and I have the remainder of them here for you. So this one, number 1 from Heart Gold Soul Silver base, and it's got the exact same alphabet up here. Instead of being kind of destroyed though, it's fresh and brand new and very easy to decipher. Look at your opponent's hand! Exclamation point. Is this something you'd want to play in your deck now or then? Probably not. But this is similarly textured. It's got the same cool gloss to it, and it is part 1 of the Alph Lithograph series. So let me move that, put it here next to it. Next up, Alph Lithograph number 3 from Heart Gold Soul Silver Undaunted. Similarly, all of the unknown stuff up here. And let's see if we can figure out what this one says. Return any stadium card in play to its player's hand! Exclamation point. So if you wanted to remove a stadium card from play without destroying it, sure. Not really sure when this would be useful, but again, very cool. And lastly, from the very last set, Heart Gold Soul Silver Triumphant is Alph Lithograph number 4. And you can see that things are starting to fall apart. We have the A, O, X, and N starting to leave. We have all of these crumblies happening, so it's harder to actually make out the legend up there. But it says, look at all of your face-down prize cards. We have other cards that have done that. I would personally think this is arguably the more playable of them, and still probably not be played. Because there are some times where your deck relies on a very specific card that you just can't find. Your Ultra Ball has revealed to you that one-off tech card that you run for this matchup is buried in your prizes, and you'd love to be able to find it. But there are the 4 Alph Lithograph cards for your enjoyment. A very, very fun set. Very niche. A lot of people don't know they exist. And if they do know they exist, a lot of people just kind of think they're just yet another trainer. So these guys actually very special, very valuable, and very, very cool for all you pokey nerds out there. So let's carefully move these guys off to the side and put this guy back in there. So I have been asked at least once by people looking through this binder, why is this card here and not here? Well, as much as I decided to rearrange the binder to move all the legend halves together, this card actually comes after all of these. And so it felt weird putting this card before these guys when these have official set numbers to them. So I just threw it up there in the corner. All right, we're 20 minutes in. Heart Gold Soul Silver Unleashed is a fantastic set. Absolutely love the arts, but it would not be a master set without the reverses. The reverses from this era, relatively basic mirror foils. They're not officially called mirror foils, but I like to call them that, where they have very obvious up and down hollow patterns on the back of them. But let's quickly flip through these guys. All right, so these reverses are very, very valuable compared to the non-reverse counterparts. And that's mostly because when people would open packs at this time, or any time really, reverses were always just kind of meh. People didn't really care all that much about these, and so finding cards like these in good condition is not easy. And especially if you're going to card shows trying to find them one at a time, you are in for a wild ride, because most vendors will say almost immediately, no, sorry, I don't have anything from Diamond Pearl through Call of Legends. So here you are. You get to enjoy all of the reverses here instead of having to go out and find them one at a time on your own. All right, so this brings us to the end of Unleashed. I absolutely love these sets, and a lot of it is because they're novel. Since I didn't grow up with these, I could have grown up with these, but I didn't. Since I didn't collect at this time, so many of these cards were brand new to me when we started collecting earlier this year, and it has been really, really fun to familiarize myself with these cards. Something else that I will mention when we get to the Heart Gold Soul Silver base set is that the trainer art style on these is super unique, and it's really fun to look through those, but I want to do it on the Heart Gold Soul Silver video because I think the Pokeball card from that set is just peak Heart Gold Soul Silver era art. So, what card from this set is your favorite? Are you into the primes? Do you like the legend halves? Do you like the silliness of the Alph lithographs? And are you going to go challenge your best friend to say that 5 times fast? I would recommend it. It's very, very funny. Similar to Unique New Nork, you know? Gotta get that tongue twister in there. All right, what set would you like to see next? We have so many left to do. We've made like 60 or 40 or some many videos, but we're not even halfway through the entire collection. So, what set would you like to see next? Please post it in the comments below. I'd absolutely love to hear from you guys. But, as always, thank you guys for watching.